This is episode 6 of the Jared Thomas Show podcast. Now, there's many different ways to do podcasts. I'm learning, of course. I'm very much learning. There was guests, and there will be guests, and there will continue to be guests. But this week I thought maybe I'll just do what I'm coming to learn in the podcasting world is just a headlines podcast. Now, for years, I did a talk show, and for years, I spent a lot of time talking about headlines and inviting you into the conversation, and you're certainly welcome to do that at any time. You can go ahead and put your information down in the comments or whatever next to the show notes or however you want to do it, just so that, or you can reach out to me directly at jthomas@layton.media, and we can have a conversation that way. So I thought this time around, some things that I've noticed in the news that I would like to add some commentary to. Many of you know I'm a golfer. Absolutely adore the sport. Wish I was better at it, but I absolutely love it. I spend much to my wife's chagrin, I spend much of my summers out on the golf course. It's become a real hobby of mine, and especially as I get older, I just find that I love the game even more. Well, at issue is Ray Richards' golf course is going to have to be modified for those that are uninitiated. That is at the corner of Demers and 42nd. Now, the city, after much wrangling with the state, is getting a underpass at that location. 3 years of construction are looming, and the funding, from what I understand, has been, as when our visit with Dana Sandy, I think we learned, has been tied up, or the DOT just isn't seeming to do anything, and things have seemed to kind of, stall a bit. But at any rate, most believe that project is going to get started and subsequently finished. But big changes are looming in that area. There's a couple of convenience stores that look like they're going to have to be modified. But Ray Richards is really the headline here, because that course, donated land from the Richards family all those years ago, are going to have to be modified. You might remember 2016 through 2020, the course just sat dormant as the University of North Dakota tried to find ways to develop it. In fact, they even put out RFPs to try to get some business owner. They thought maybe a restaurant would work there. They thought all kinds of different things would work there. They didn't really have a lot of interest, so they just sort of passed on the idea and then later reopened the golf course once more. Well, here we are again. This time the golf course looks like it's going to be, has to be modified. The Richards family stands firm, says that land was given to be a golf course. That's it. So the University of North Dakota also had a driving range. I suppose that would be on the southeast portion of the campus. And they've decided to just let that go and decided that maybe we should develop that land. Now, around that area is a bunch of townhomes and houses, and really, there's not a lot of business in that area. There's a convenience store, and there's a park, and the hospital is nearby. But really, there's not a high business district in that area. Well, with all of these changes coming, thought maybe it would be a good time to change that. So there was a meeting of the neighborhood last Thursday, and, let's just say the citizens in that area are not happy. Citizens, they're always upset because they never feel like they know about these things. In the comments in the Pulitzer Prize winner, where I was perusing a story, I found that they're, again, upset because, not everybody know. I don't know. I'm telling you, man, I could walk up to you and tell you about meetings that are happening next week. I could staple it to your damn forehead, and you still wouldn't show up. And then in the back end say, I didn't know anything about it. Come on, man. Those that did show up shared their concerns. They said that this isn't anything that we want. I mean, what are you doing to these people? The development talks about, or the proposed development talks about, maybe some apartments. More on that in a second. Maybe a year-round driving range. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? But not to the people that live in that area. Hell no. They don't want anything to do with it. So other elected officials are there. In fact, District 43 Representative Eric Murphy stopped by. He quotes, and I'm quoting him saying to the Pulitzer Prize winner, "I hear all these comments and I want to compliment every one of you on the decorum you displayed." So in other words, thank you for being an adult. This is an upsetting thing. I don't particularly care for it, but I want to hear from you. What is it that you don't care for? What is it that you don't like? City Council member Ken Veen, who isn't afraid to stir the pot, said he has two issues, which is common with Ken. Multiple issues sort of run rampant with this man. One is the loss of a golf course. We don't like that. We don't like the loss of a golf course, which he would never want to see happen, but also the detrimental impacts of what might be being proposed. What detrimental impact could apartments in a year-round golf course have? See, here's when we talk about development of Grand Forks, North Dakota, and we talk about the kind of community that we have and the kind of community that we want. We're very specific in what it is that we'll tolerate. I've shared this before, so one more time won't hurt. Discounted grocery store? Yeah, buddy. You can save me a few shillings on an egg. Let's do that. Corn milling plant, northwest of town? Bad growth. Bad growth. There is a segment of our community, and frankly, I've lived here 51 years, sans 8 months, where I chased a radio dream. And I can tell you that by and large, what we want and what we have are aligned. Now, anybody that would be listening to this or watching this would simply say, well, that's not true. It's absolutely true. It is a battle tooth and nail to get change and development to happen in our community. Back to apartments for just a second. Ryan Brooks, who is in this business for the city of Grand Forks, it's his job, it's his job. He says it's been 2 years since the city of Grand Forks has accepted or has seen filed any sort of apartment building permits. 2 years. I can recall 3 years ago when I got off the air, it was, who's living in all these damn apartments? Got it. There's a 3% vacancy rate for apartments in our community. You know what that means? We need more apartments. For those of you that live in apartments, you know that rents are high. You know why rents are high? Because we don't have enough apartments. They want to build a 300-unit apartment complex. Citizens don't want it. NIMBY, right? Yeah, it's fine, but not in my backyard. Got it. In the end, this project will move forward. This project being the underpass forward. This project, I'm of the opinion, is needed in our community. I know that some may differ with that, but I think that it is. I lived in the gated community of Congressional number 2 for 15 years. I was of the opinion when I lived over there that the tracks were there before I was there. I was aware that there was going to be trains. I was aware that trains were never going to happen at a convenient time. And so I planned my life accordingly. I found pretty quickly that I had to go 20 to 25 miles an hour down University Avenue over to the overpass, which incidentally is going to be closed essentially through October now for some work to be done there. But back then, I could have access to the overpass. I would just drive there and get on about my day. I knew that, though, right? I always thought an underpass would be nice. I never thought that the funds would become available to do it. But guess what? Your boy JT was wrong. So that's going to happen. And with it's going to be a pretty substantial change to the golf course that I believe most of you love. It's not that I hate it. It's out of place. Grand Forks has developed around it. It seems odd. It seems weird. It's not a particularly challenging golf course. It's a public golf course. It's a 9-hole golf course, and it loses $400,000 a year. So for those of you that are budget hawks, and for those of you that are concerned about your tax dollar, and for those of you that are concerned that the state and the city and everybody else doesn't use your tax dollar correctly, here's an opportunity to turn that land into something that could and eventually would pay taxes. At issue, though, and one thing that's going to be incredibly difficult to overcome is the Richards family and their feelings on the topic. But again, at the end of the day, it likely will just sit. 3 holes. 3 holes. The last time I looked would have to be, that's a 30-year golf course, would have to be changed or in some way modified so that we could continue to have Ray Richards Golf Course. Again, not anti-golf course. Love them all. But this one, because of what's in front of us and because of the circumstances that surround it, I challenge city leaders to move forward with the idea that it's time to move on. Chuck Haga is the next topic here on the Jared Thomas Show podcast. I met Chuck just a handful of times in my life, and Chuck recently passed away. Chuck was very, very open and honest about his battle with cancer on his Facebook page. Incredibly kind man, incredibly generous guy, and I've had more experience with his son Pete, who for a period of his professional career worked with former Mayor Michael Brown at the city level in community development. And I'll just say it this way, was the mayor's right-hand man. Pete is, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Very kind man, loves Grand Forks, never has a negative thing to say. I really do like Pete a lot. His dad can write. Man, that man could write. We're losing our local legends with the passing of Chuck Haga and the retirement of most recently. In fact, we visited with Doug Barrett not that long ago. He's retired. You see that John Wheeler, meteorologist, retired. I invite you to pause and take a moment, and you don't always agree with everybody all of the time, but keep Chuck in your thoughts and prayers, and keep Pete, his wife, and his 3 kids in your thoughts and prayers too, as this is a difficult time, and it's a difficult time for the community. We're a little worse off because we don't have Chuck's musings in our local newspaper, and we don't have Chuck's words to reflect on. Always a very thoughtful man. And again, the thing that I will always remember about Chuck Haga, he didn't have to be nice to me. He didn't have to be generous with his time with me, but he was. We should all be more like Chuck. There will be a celebration of Chuck's life at the Gorecki Alumni Center from 4 to 6 on May the 27th. It's open to the public, so if you want to come by and see and say a few words and visit with Pete, and if you're familiar with the family or you just want to pass on your condolences, that would be welcome at that time. Chuck Haga, 75 years old. Lastly, on this headlines edition of the Jared Thomas Show podcast. So I've listened on the blowtorch about cell phones, and Governor Kelly Armstrong, who, with the help of the state legislature, has passed a ban, and now has been signed into law, that kids, when you go to school, got to give up those phones. Some upset. I mean, how dare you? How dare you take my kid's cell phone away? It's not your cell phone. Others, like us, who went to school 1,000 years ago, will tell you, we went to school. You give it a second thought. If I wanted to talk to you, I walked up to your locker, I tapped you on the back, and we had a conversation. We could go and talk for the next 3 hours about how life doesn't work like that anymore. We are married to our cellular devices. We seemingly can't live without them. We have to have them on our hand. In fact, sometimes they're sewn to our hands. They've interrupted meetings. They have distracted you while driving. They are something that is not going away. We're evolving, right? We're getting better at it. Technology in cars and things where cell phones or really anything that's distracting can be dangerous. But what's interesting about this is that kids are saying, okay. But there's a couple of things that have come out of this so far that I thought were pretty interesting. The first is there's some kids that are saying, I guess if you're going to take our cell phones, you're going to take our cell phones. But then if you're going to give us an electrical device to use that you're going to be okay with, then that's got to get better. These laptops and these different tablet options that you hand out are crap. And if you're not going to keep up with technology, I don't know how you're going to expect me to continue to learn or learn at the rate by which you hope that I will learn. I don't know how effective this is going to be. I suppose if you take away a cell phone, the idea is that automatically means that they're going to be less distracted, they being kids, and they're going to be more focused on what the material is that's being presented to them. And I don't know that that's going to be absolutely true. I look back at 15-year-old JT. I was distracted for a lot of reasons, right? Right now, the weather's getting nicer. I like to talk to girls when I was 15. I was playing sports when I was 15. I was out 2 days a week or 3 days a week to go to golf meets when I was 15 and in high school. The distractions are the distractions. And I don't know how you're going to get teenagers to focus. I think I understand the frustration of teachers. But I often thought, and in this discussion every time that it comes up about cell phones, is what is it about the cell phone that teachers really just don't like? Is it only the fact that they're distractions and that it's one thing that they feel like they can't mitigate and they're constantly working on, they're constantly telling kids about, and they're constantly saying, knock it off? So the one thing that we can do, the one thing that we know that we can do is we can say, get rid of them. At least get rid of them during the day. But what if that's not the answer? What if that doesn't work? At Bismarck Legacy, as an example, Bismarck Legacy has an open campus. Have we thought about that? Have we thought about what happens on an open campus? Have we thought about what that means when kids want to leave the school because they have some time? They want to go get something to eat. They want to run, put gas in their car. Hey, they have a track meet after school, so they have a few errands to run during their free hour or their open time when they get to be off campus, because that's part of the deal. Do they get to check their phones back out? I'm guessing if Kelly Armstrong was within camera view, he would say, wow, I mean, we got to have some common sense. No, sir. Senate Bill 2354, which starts August the 1st, says, during school hours, they're locked away. Now, again, some that were watching this or listening to this might say, well, I went just fine. I went just fine without a cell phone. And undoubtedly, kids today would too. But at some point, we took a horse and carriage to school. We don't do that anymore. At some point, we actually did walk uphill both ways to school. At some point, Jared and Jody Spohr had to walk the 3 blocks to Crestwood Elementary School in East Grand Forks. I can't tell you the last time I saw a kid walk to school. The point, things change. I always thought a better avenue for teachers would have been in some way to incorporate the cell phones into the curriculum. I understand that would require some creative thinking and some ingenuity and some different ways that you would have to come to the determination that I have to change. I have to do things differently. School boards all over the state are going to be thinking about this and figuring out different ways and how they're going to get the phones and what the punishment's going to be if you get caught with your phone or if you forget. Will there be a 3-strike rule? Will there be? It seems like it's going to be pretty burdensome on those that have to enforce it. This feels unnecessary. And it feels like a layup for the governor. A governor who I think most of us have pretty high hopes for is going to change the way that we govern in the state of North Dakota, a state that is stupidly rich, but still leans on its citizens to pay for 100% of everything. And what we get in his first opportunity to meet with the state legislature is cell phone ban. Keep up the good work, Kel. Finally, at the time of this recording, your Minnesota Twins have won 11 games in a row. That's not nothing. That's a pretty good streak. And in fact, when you go on and you do great things in a season, you oftentimes have very long winning streaks offset by very few long losing streaks. As we know, and for those of you that are baseball fans are certainly aware, that the Major League Baseball season is the definition of a marathon, rather a sprint. So your Twins and their 11-game winning streak has been a nice storyline early in the Major League Baseball season. Yesterday, the Twins go out to Baltimore and they beat the Orioles. In fact, anytime they want to beat up on an AL East team, not named the New York Yankees, I'm all for it. So we're all Twins fans yesterday. And then a fly ball hit to short center field. $30 million a year shortstop Carlos Correa, who is certainly no longer one of the top 10 players in the game, and Byron Buxton, who many Twins fans have fooled themselves into believing has been a top 10 player in the game. I would say he's an above-average Major League center fielder, but he can't stay on the field. He'll be one of these players I think that will one day retire, and we'll wonder, how good was Byron Buxton really? Couple that with the fact that he's getting to the latter part of his prime years. I digress. Both players have a hell of a time staying on the field. Buxton, about 100 games last year, and I believe that Carlos Correa had plantar fasciitis so bad that he was limited to 82 games last year. So, back to the short fly ball to center field. Buxton comes in. Correa goes out. Twins fans hold their breath. And all of a sudden, you could hear porcelain breaking all over Twins territory. There they laid. I believe Correa caught the ball. That's the good news. And that's about the end of the good news. Correa laid there. Buxton laid there. And Rocco Baldelli saw his career flash before his eyes. This morning, and the only information I can find is that Byron Buxton, and again, concussions are no joke. He is in concussion protocol. I could not find an update on Carlos Correa. But if the Twins handle this injury, like they handle all other injuries, you shouldn't expect to see Byron Buxton or Carlos Correa until sometime after the All-Star break, which is sometime in the middle of July. That's just my prediction. I'm not a doctor, and I don't know that for sure, but I've just observed how the Twins can take a calf strain, which 100% of Americans walk around with each and every day, certainly if you're above the age of 35, and it's a 3 to 5 month ordeal. The Twins oftentimes, in fact, in Major League Baseball, are known for being soft. They don't treat injuries like everybody else. So Twins fans, Twins territory, which, by the way, you can always hear on News Radio 1310 KNOX every game, right there for you. Again, didn't start so well. Then on this 11-game winning streak, The players were staying healthy. Everything was fine. They got Royce Lewis back, who, again, he pulled a calf muscle late in spring training. Finally got him back about a week ago, and things were trending in the right direction. Again, this 11-game winning streak, the pitchers that were supposed to pitch were pitching. The hitters that were supposed to hit were hitting. And then a short fly ball to center field. Hold your breath, Twins fans, and undoubtedly by the time my boy Jacob edits all of this and gets it packaged together and gets it put up, I believe, next week, early next week sometime, the summers are better when the Twins are playing well. Let's just hope this isn't the end of it. The Jared Thomas Show podcast, found absolutely anywhere that podcasts are found. Like, share, smash that subscription button. And thank you, most of all, for listening.